7 points and 11 assists, and the Fever crushed the Sun 123-88. Asia Wilson dropped 38 points, but the Aces lost to the Mystics 100-99.
It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 12:30. WTBC, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are ready to talk plenty more Alabama football as we still are in the thick of SEC media days. Now, technically, it's wrapping up, right? But we had so much content to cover yesterday with Alabama taking center stage early in the morning that I feel like we only got through maybe about 30% of it, which is a good thing because we've got plenty to talk about today. We got plenty to talk about tomorrow on a free-for-all Friday, and we'll do just that, and hopefully we can do it with you guys. 205-342-9904 is the number. Love to get y'all's thoughts on everything that we've heard yesterday. Might have heard some more this morning. I guess other teams are at the podium, but still Alabama is going to be coming up in some of these conversations. We're talking about, picks to win the SEC. I heard Coach Saban gave his thoughts on who his favorites are currently to be at the top of the league. That might catch some attention of our listeners. So we'll talk about that. And we'll listen to some clips because we didn't even get to really play hardly any of them yesterday. So I'm excited about today's show as we're going to dive into a lot more Alabama football talk and conversations. I'm already seeing in the chat somebody mentioned Pete Golding. He might have stole the show. He might have won SEC Media Days. I know technically there's not really any winning that you can do, but in terms of lip service, people are very pleased with what they heard. And I'll tell you one thing. I heard Coach Saban speak very highly of him. A lot of Alabama fans always have to go to bat for Pete Golding when his name comes up in these conversations, Jackson. A lot of people, there's this narrative, man. And I say Jackson, by the way. Everybody on our stream, everybody tuning in. We got Jackson behind the glass today, by the way. Let me give Jackson an official welcome, I guess, back because Jackson's produced this show before.
Thank you, Christian. Of
course. And they've heard you before. You produce. I think Ryan is who you're normally working with, which –
Yep, I'm usually with Ryan in the afternoon.
So, exactly. So they've heard you before. But for our stream listeners that maybe haven't heard Jackson, this is Jackson. He's behind the glass filling in today, and we're excited to talk some sports with Jackson. Jackson does a lot of mic work, so he'll definitely be. I'll go to you a bunch. Don't you worry. You'll be busy the whole time. That said, Jackson, Pete Golding, I think he might have. If there was an award for winning the press conferences, man, people were just fired up, and I used to have to go to bat for this guy because the narrative became, even though he was a great defensive coordinator here, started off as a linebackers coach. Matter of fact, 2018, my first year, we hired him from UTSA. A little bit of an interesting hire. Normally, Coach Saban always went to people from his coaching tree, some familiarity. This time around, you hire a hot, young, up-and-coming defensive mind in college football, and he ended up being excellent, man. Tosh Lupoy was our defensive coordinator, but he was kind of calling the shots. He had that experience, even though it was at a lower level. But you could tell he was a really good football mind, and Coach Saban loved the guy. And he just developed this reputation, Jackson, because we had a guy by the name of Will Anderson, who we all know had, I think, like 30-plus career sacks. I think his sophomore year had like 17 and a half, and this was coming from a guy that was playing a little out of position. But this is what happens, man, when there's a narrative that's pushed and people that don't really understand the game of football, they just go with it. There's this whole thing that Pete Golding is the reason we dropped Will Anderson in coverage. Like, that's all you hear when you hear Pete Golding. That's all people say is that, he was responsible for making Will Anderson drop in coverage. Well, newsflash, folks, that's part of a defense. When you're calling simulated pressures and you're bringing pressure from other places and other guys have to drop, or when you play outside linebacker like Will played, right, depending on the situation, depending on the call, it's very common for those guys to drop. I mean, I play the same position. I dropped in coverage a lot. Now, of course, you could argue, hey, man, like, we should try to keep this guy in as many rush situations as possible. However, number one, you're either going to limit your play call sheet, or two, you're going to specifically try to go and redesign these plays to where only he is at a position where they're not really going to drop. You just don't really do that. And we were talking about a guy that had a skill set that allowed him to do certain things. it was what it was. And a lot of the times he was dropping, he would be at the jack position, which is outside linebacker and nickel. And if you're playing what we used to, one of our base calls was mint 4 mod, is cover 4, is quarters, right? He would be a dropper. That was the defense, right? Yeah, there you go. Jackson knows a little bit of the hand signals, right? You got some dime rabbits. You got nickel with the one hand. Nickel would be single, but that would be nickel rabbits. So you know a little bit of the signals. There you go. But anyway, people are just Bama fans love piling up on the guys. So I feel like for years I've always been like, guys, listen, he was one of Coach Saban's favorite coaches. He was one of the best coaches I had. This guy is a really good coach. And it was just cool seeing him steal the show. Now, this is his first time being a head coach at SEC Media Days, so I'm really happy that he was able to kill it. Now, we all know this is talking season, so he can go kill it in the press conference, not meaning crap. He's got to go do it on the field. But I was impressed with – I wouldn't say impressed because it's like I expected, because if you talk to this guy, he eats, sleeps, and breathes football. I mean, the passion anytime he talks about the game of football, you can sense it. But he did have some really good answers, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. I saw that in the chat, so maybe we'll bring that up. But we got to dive into some more Alabama football talk, because there's been plenty of comments, both good, bad, in the middle, from coaches, players, media, and we've got plenty to dive into. So we'll do just that here in a little bit. Again, check us out on our streams. We'd love to get you guys in the chat on YouTube at The Miller's Edge, on X at The Miller's Edge, and on the Tide 100.9 Facebook page as well. You can catch us in my personal X as well, at Christian MILLR. So we'll do all of that. Jackson, I've been asking folks, and we've talked to them on the phone lines and whatnot. Anything for you that stood out from media days, whether that be from Alabama, Coach DeBoer, one of the players, or even an analyst talking about Alabama, or even if it was something from Pete Golden. I know Lane Kiffin spoke, and there's been a lot of conversations this morning. Anything so far for you that's really grabbed your attention that you think would be a good topic for us to try to dive into here in a little bit?
Well, for me, what's really stood out is, each year in the past, Alabama and Georgia have been like the teams to talk. Like, those are the teams that are going to be at the top of the ballot come the end of Thursday. This year, it seems that might not be the case. And even though last season we saw the final 2 teams in the SEC were, yet again, Alabama and Georgia. And so, in my opinion, I think, yes, Texas does have this roster, but they've had a roster like this, maybe not to the degree with adding 1 or 2 players that can elevate them. But, they had the Quinn Ewers team, didn't win the SEC. They lost. And it just, to me, it's kind of frustrating to see that, like, you still have your mainstays and people are still going to doubt them, and I let them doubt. But Kirby's Kirby, and I know Alabama is not with Saban anymore, but it's still Alabama. We were still there last season. So keep doubting. That's my position anyway.
And my follow-up was going to be, and maybe this is a good conversation to have at some point, is because I think Coach Saban might have mentioned this, or maybe it was just other people. Somebody mentioned this. So many people are talking, I can't remember who's saying what, to be honest with you. But it was like, it might actually be a good thing that Alabama, it was Coach Saban, because I think he said, hey, I kind of liked when our teams were in the underdog position. Alabama was in underdog position last year. If you think about it, going into SEC Media Days, it was a little similar, right? I can't remember if it was, because right now I feel like they have us as a middle of the pack SEC team. At least from the outside looking in, it feels like that. They have you, even, and at least my definitions would be, if you have us finishing 5th or 6th, I call that middle of the pack. I get there's 16 teams. If you're not in the top 3, to me, you're middle of the pack. I think that's
I agree, because a lot of people have LSU over us right now, and I'm like, I kind of understand it, but really, I don't.
Well, I think with that one, Jackson, when you got 2 teams with question marks, one of them, the question marks are carrying over from last year. The other team, their question marks with a whole new staff, a lot of new, very good talent that they got from the transfer portal. The optimism is going to be higher for that group of question marks than it would be for, hey, Kalen DeBoer is going in his 3rd year. Hey, he had these issues last year. They have like 50 new faces on the team, but it's still, it's not as new and it's not as unknown. The running back room is pretty much the same. You add some new guys that hopefully can provide a spark, but they're young, right? There's a lot of buts when it comes to some of these answers. And to me, I think that's why you're seeing the the outlook that you're seeing right now. But we'll ask that question because I know we got to hit a timeout. But you're 100% right. Alabama right now is flying somewhat under the radar. Some might determine that it's disrespect. Some might determine that it's fair, depending on who you ask. But the question really is, though, number one, does it really matter? And two, could it actually be a benefit, right? Could it be a benefit that you use it as motivation, you use it as fuel to get these guys in the mindset that, hey, people are writing you off already, and we haven't even played a single snap. We haven't even done training camp. And people already are looking at you like you're just an average SEC team. And you're at the University of Alabama. Do you want to be that group of guys that say, hey, we came to Alabama, and I know the last 2 years haven't been what it would, but you get the point. I feel like we're at a point right now where if you have another year like last year really won that battle, like you said, you made an SEC championship, but you get the point. If you have another year where people are heavily critical, I feel like you can go one of two ways. If you can improve, if you can at least do what you did last year, hopefully improve some, I think the overall perception of Alabama will hopefully be on the rise again. But I can already see it. If you don't live up to even what you did last year, it's only going to get louder.
I mean, it's already super loud. You've got Stephen A. on ESPN saying they need to fire DeBoer after 2 seasons. I'm like, come on.
Listen, if he goes, which we need to bring that clip up, blasphemy, as he would say. If you go 9-3 this year, even though a lot of people predicted him, including myself, I think 10-2 is possible, but I think 9-3, 10-2 around that range, we could see end up happening. Even though I feel like that feels somewhat fair given the youth, given the fact that you've had to replace coaches. I mean, there's probably going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. You're expecting growing pains, new quarterback that's never started before. Like, the problem is people don't care about all those things. And even though just like Lane Kiffin, I get the guy had a blank checkbook and an open wallet. And I get he's a hell of a football coach, and they got a defensive coordinator that's a really good defensive coordinator that stayed behind. Like, all the pieces seem to be there. But you got these talking heads saying that if he doesn't win a national championship in year number 1, then he is a failure. So if I'm Kalen DeBoer, if I hear that, I'm like, at least these crazy expectations. I mean, it's not just us here at Alabama, which we already knew were going to be the case, but even Lane Kiffin. I mean, expectations in college football right now is very similar to the NIL stuff. It's insane. I mean, I'm seeing about Tennessee. They just got that commitment from that running back, DGG. I don't keep up with recruiting a whole bunch, so I didn't really know the hype around this kid other than somebody tagged us in the article as like $1 million running back. Allegedly, he's a $2 million running back. This guy didn't play a snap of college football. And not only that, Jackson, they've offered like airfare for family to go. I'm like, all right. So I feel like the expectations for coaches are as wild as what we're seeing with NIL.
Is that the Signetti effect?
That definitely probably has. That's a great point. That's probably rubbed off on some of this because you're saying, hey, this guy went to Indiana, which was like the second worst program of all time. And within 2 years, first year he had a playoff appearance. Second year, he went undefeated and won a national championship. So you brought up an excellent point. I think people look at what Signetti did at Indiana and just say, hey, if he did it there, why can't you do it here? We'll give you even more resources. If you're a good football coach and we give you good players, what's holding you back? But the reality is, Jackson, football doesn't really work like that, man. I mean, Indiana went undefeated. We're a hell of a good football team, very disciplined, very physical. I mean, they had all the intangibles and the tangibles that you would want a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Let's not act like they just ran the table. They had a couple games where, just like we did, they barely scraped by. I mean, you know what I mean? Like in the regular season, they had a couple of times where they might not have been that undefeated. You know what I'm saying? So, like, things have to fall your way. You probably have to have a little bit of a favorable schedule, which I would argue Indiana is a little bit in a better position than, let's say, Alabama, LSU, looking at their schedule. Now, Alabama's schedule is allegedly like the 14th easiest according to the FBI currently, but I think people have to understand, man, football is a lot more than just like when, you know, we talk to our listeners, you know, it's, hey, the offensive line was terrible last year. They can't get worse. Well, never say never. I mean, you can get worse. I don't expect it to, because I think we're going to put so much focus on it that it gets a little bit better. I don't think it gets much better, but I think it gets a tad bit better. But then it's like, oh, but we got this guy, and well, he's young, he's hungry, he can. I'm like, listen, that's on paper. You still have to go get 5 guys to go play together, mesh, gel, play assignment football, be physical, and that takes time. That takes reps. That takes a lot of practice. I mean, film. I think we live in a society now, whether it's because of AI and technology, people just think things just happen, but they don't. It just doesn't work like that. So I don't know. For me, I keep my expectations very realistic. I call it for what it is. I don't get too high. I don't get too low. I learned that from Scotty Holland. Shout out to Scotty. He was a big part of our chaplain team at Alabama, still is. You can't get too high. Can't get too low, man. You just got to just try to just stay even keel and just roll with the flow of it, right? It's like a wave. Just got to ride things out. That's kind of how I look at it. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll keep talking about these conversations from SEC Media Days. Plenty to talk about. We'd love to get y'all's thoughts on it. 205-342-9904 is the number. We got Adam joining us at the top of the hour via the stream. We'll look forward to talking with him and keep breaking down SEC Media Days right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Keep the umbrella handy. Cloudy skies, muggy, 93. A light south breeze. Be on the watch for showers and storms this afternoon. They'll fade away tonight, cooling to 76. Cloudy, thunderstorms likely. Tomorrow could see some locally heavy downpours at 93. And sunshine on Saturday with a chance of afternoon storms, 94. Nearing 100 degrees as we move into next week. Richard Wedding of the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 89 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From yesterday's legends to tomorrow's stars. Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
No one better.
The home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're recapping SEC Media Days. Alabama was center stage yesterday. A chance to really talk about nearly, I guess, half the things that we had. I mean, I was joking around yesterday. I just was hitting bookmark. And we're going to catch back up on some of that. We got Jackson behind the glass hanging out with us today, filling in for Chase Reed. So we had some good conversations to kind of kick things off. We want to keep those rolling. Always remind you guys, 205-342-9904 is the number if you guys want to get on the conversation. Anything that we're talking about here or get in on the chat on YouTube for sure. That's where our chat is most active, typically here on the show. That said, Jackson, before we recap a little bit more on the SEC Media Days, something came up that one of our listeners, shout out to QD, man. He's the guy. He's been listening to us for as far as I can remember. He tagged us in something this morning, and it caught my attention. And this is what it was. I'm going to share this on the screen so we can see this here on the stream. It's a screenshot from a photo that an ECU player, remember we opened up with East Carolina, who I want to say they're like 9-4 or something like that last season. I think they had one of the better offenses in the country in terms of kind of the numbers they put. I mean, they're not a slouch. Now, they're on a lower level, but they're a good football team, especially for where they play at. That said, I think one of their players posted a photo, and I don't know if we call this like the rifle emo or I know it's a part of what's the dance they do, like tripping out or whatever. I know, I think it was Lacey from LSU. I think he used to kind of do the spraying the crowd, kind of that's kind of what this picture looks like. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing that I'm seeing right here, and I'll make this full screen, is that if you look in the comments, you see one of our players. I guess he found this photo. And he left the comment, and this is Red Morgan. He says, "We tolerate no disrespect, brudda," with trust. I don't know how would you describe this emoji, Jackson? Like trust? Believe me?
Trust, yeah.
Locked
Believe,
in?
locked in.
Anyway, trying to describe it for our radio listeners. This is why we encourage you guys. Check us out on the stream. You can see what we're talking about a little bit better. The reason I bring this up is, number one, it was, people were chatting about it this morning, but two, it feels eerily similar, Jackson, to something that we saw last year. And that was, Florida State's quarterback had come out and he had some comments. And then, of course, it was, a matter of fact, like a year ago from yesterday, it was asked about at SEC Media Days. We heard the disrespect will be, what was it? Disrespect will be addressed. And then another comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DeBoer was even asked about that in this press conference yesterday about, going into the game last year with all the off the field, back and forth and how that would be different this year because it's East Carolina. I'm okay with that kind of stuff if you're opening with Auburn or Tennessee or LSU first game of the year. But it's East Carolina. This should be ignored, in my opinion.
Listen, and I'm trying not to sound like the old head here, because anytime I say, when I was, you're at risk of the people that start pointing the finger and say, oh, you're just the Saban guy that's hating on no. But one thing I do know is, that was a big thing. Coach Saban was like, hey, man, we don't give people bulletin board material. Now, would something come out here or there? I'm not saying we were perfect, but that was a big thing. At least when I was here, it was like, hey, man, when you do media, you only speak highly of the opponent. You respect the opponent. And then you always try to speak highly and respectful of your teammates and kind of, that was a big thing. And then especially on social media, they weren't really trying to go for all that. And then I get it. Today's day and age is a little bit different, right? Guys are a lot more active and open on social media. Guys stream on Twitch and all the time. It's a lot different. They shake their hips in locker rooms, not just our guys. It's everybody in college football. It's really starting to get on my nerves, but it is what it is, man. I'm seeing 300-pound linemen gyrating their hips and doing TikTok dances, whether it's the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, and I'm about sick and tired of it, but that's another topic for another day. The point I'm making is I'm of the belief that sometimes, man, you just let the actions be handled and settle on the field. How many times, when we were here, we would have teams that they didn't have that same discipline like we had in the media. And they would make dumb comments it's just Alabama. So, Alabama's just another football team, man. And then we go out there and we put belt to ass. And then it's just that was our way. Then after the game, we might make kind of a little smart remark or something, but it's a little bit different. I'm just especially given last season, the whole Florida State deal, because it wasn't just that one. It was multiple times I feel like guys addressed or planned to address, and then we pretty much got undressed and belt to ass the first game. It is what it was. You know what I mean? So, I just – the only positive here, Jackson, is that this is Red Morgan saying it. And if there's anybody on this football team who I believe is actually going to go in and dress some stuff and handle business and stand on it, it is that guy.
Yeah, he can lay it down.
He brings Black Air Force energy. Facts. Anytime you turn on the tape, he's smacking dudes. Facts. So I'm willing to make an exception, Jackson, because Red Morgan, who we're talking about, he's like the NBA young boy of our football team. He's a dude.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He stands on business. If he were to get caught up in some stuff, I would probably knock on wood. I don't think he's a bad person. I'm just saying he seems like he's kind of got that attitude to him. Some of the guys I played with saying, well, you need those guys. He's that type. So I think I'm willing to let this one slide. But I don't want to hear anybody else do it, because unless you've shown that you handle business like he handles business, I don't want to hear anything else. Because after last year, I'm even before that though. Like, I mean, like they used to talk about, hey man, the Bama standard, the Bama's like, we used to hear all this in the offseason, and then the season would come. And I'm not trying to knock any of our guys. Again, I love and respect all these guys, but it's just like, let's take a step back from this, because I feel like over the last few years, even when Coach Saban was here, not just DeBoer, let me be clear, it's been the past few years, the generation of these kids are different now, right? Like, it's just, everything's run a little bit different. I feel like the noise coming from our guys have been a little bit louder than it's been in past years, and the actions don't line up. And I don't want to keep seeing that and hearing that.
No, I agree. And it gives more when it doesn't line up. So like what happened last year in the Florida State game, it just gives more fodder to the rest of the college football world to be like,
oh yeah,
oh my gosh, like Alabama's not Alabama.
I agree 100% with you. I mean, just to end on this, because we got a timeout we're about to hit. And I would tread cautiously here, because, I mean, again, East Carolina, and you can hear it in DeBoer's answers when he talks about this matchup, and he's kind of previewing it way too early of a preview, just kind of briefly talking about it, skimming over it. They are, again, a good football team for kind of the level that they're on, like that, and they brought in some dudes from the portal. I want to say they got new coaches on their staff. I mean, like, I would not be shocked. Now, Alabama's going to be favored probably almost 3 scores, I would imagine. I'm sure the lines are already out there. I don't know, but I would have guessed probably almost 3 scores. I would not be shocked if this game ends up being a little bit more of a closer game. Imagine, remember USF when we used to play them, and you're kind of like, hey, the USF team, man, smaller opponent, but I mean, they've got some players that can play some football. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked necessarily, especially being the first game. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but all I'm saying is I just would, man, you know what, let's just lock in on us. I mean, he might be aiming at Appalachian State in the photo. I don't know what the caption was, but he might be aiming at, I don't know what he's aiming at. But let's just let our talking be handled on the field, please. Jackson, if we have another Florida State incident, if it's like East Carolina, I promise you, man, you might be hosting this show, and I might have to just take a break for a couple weeks and then just reassess.
It would not be good. It would not be good.
Actually, it wouldn't, but I hate to say it like this, but to be fair, now, when there's a lot of emotions in fans does good for radio, good or bad. So I hate to say it, but when things aren't going well, yeah, I was about to say there's a lot of people calling in. Definitely would probably create some traffic. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep rolling. We'll dive into this SEC Media Day talk again. We got some clips that we'll play. We'll respond to it, talk about it right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 12.
Get your life back, baby. Stephen Mezrano, Alabama Injury Lawyers. Mez wins.
Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we transform driveways and parking lots with expert repairs, new paving, or resurfacing. Fast, durable, and family-owned quality that you can trust. Don't let small issues turn into big expenses. Call 205-393-9149 for your free estimate today. That's 205-393-9149. Asphalt Restoration, where smooth roads start. Roll Tide. Hey, it's Christian Miller, and I want to tell you about our great friends over at Brian Harding Construction. Located in the heart of Tuscaloosa, Brian Harding Construction is woman-owned and strong as steel. A specialty manufacturing firm with expertise in structural steel fabrication, ASME code piping and vessels, CNC machine work, welding, laser cutting, pipe fitting, industrial maintenance, and crane rentals. With a proven track record of over 30-plus years of experience, no one is better fit for the job. For an evaluation, contact Brian Harding Construction today at 205-752-9611. Again, that's Brian Harding Construction at 205-752-9611.
From our home base in Birmingham, Alabama, we are here treating patients from every generation across the United States and from around the world. We're here for the rookies and the dreamers trying to make a name for themselves. We're here for the achievers
who are resilient
and won't take no for an answer. We're here for the coaches,
athletic trainers, and mentors who are shaping the
time. Deals and free shipping on PCs and more await you at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Stay locked in, Tide fans. This is Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
back into this Thursday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 101.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's talk some SEC Media Day, some things that we might have missed yesterday coming out of Tampa, where Alabama took center stage. Again, they started things off, and there was a lot of conversations. I know we talked a little bit about various things. We talked about the offensive line yesterday. We can circle back to that here in a moment if we need to. But I wanted to bring up a clip from Coach DeBoer. He's talking about the quarterback battle. And I know we've been kind of cool on it a little bit because I knew we would have plenty of time to discuss it. I feel like now it's time to start bringing it back up, especially with these clips that are coming out and just hearing more from Coach DeBoer regarding it. So let's go ahead and give a listen when he was asked about these two guys competing for the starting quarterback job this upcoming season.
Both of them are more than capable. I think they're high-level elite quarterbacks. Fortunately, we have both in our program, and it's going to be a competition that's going to lead to a tough decision. It's one that we're fortunate to have, and it's going to be one that when we do make the decision that we'll be confident we'll do a great job, because they are two guys that are well respected by our entire football team because of how they work, who they are as people, and the production and what they look like on the football field.
All right, so that was him talking about nothing really new there, but I wanted to bring it up because, Jackson, this has started to come back up. I see there's a lot of people doing their predictions and top quarterbacks in the conference preseason, of course. And you can't help but notice, but every single time they did include an Alabama quarterback, it was always Keelan Russell. Seems like a lot of people just assume he's the guy. But if you also heard some other pieces from Coach DeBoer, it always seems like he finds a way to circle back and include Austin Mack in that conversation. Even Coach Saban kind of talking about the two quarterbacks. And then, hey, yes, Keelan Russell, Coach Saban's a big believer in him. He wasn't shying away from that. But he also acknowledged the point that I think a lot of people have been trying to make as well, that, hey, it's just like I was talking about yesterday with Brandon Clear, like, it's important to be a good football player. We know that. But you also have to have a good understanding of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how to do it. And then at quarterback, it's like, hey, what the defense is doing. And it's just the biggest question mark for me is, where is Keelan Russell in that regard, right? Because throwing for 3 tutties and 350 is great. But if you also have 2 picks and one comes in a critical moment when you're driving down the field and we're trying to secure a lead or put, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he's a turnover machine or anything. I'm just saying younger players that are still learning some of those concepts and understand, like, you don't want to rush that too much.
Right.
And so my question is, Jackson, like, how are we feeling right now ahead of training camp? Like, week 1, who do we think will be the guy? Because this is how I think it's probably going to go down. And this is not, I've seen something to hurt. This is my opinion right now, currently. I think there's a good chance we start with Austin Mack, but I think at some point, and I don't know at what point, I think Keelan Russell might end up being there, because this is what I've been saying before the spring, during the spring, and even after the spring. I think people see a little bit more of what I was saying, because I've seen Keelan Russell and Austin Mack since they both got here, right? At practices, during scrimmages. I've seen a lot more than just the few times they've gotten in games. And I've been trying to preach that there's just something about Keelan Russell, and this is what other people are starting to say now that they've seen more of him. There's just something about the guy that he's got that it factor where when I'm putting him in the game, plays are going to be made. Whether that's him extending plays, the great vision that he has that they've bragged about. Even when he got here, I remember just watching him. He was probably here for like a week, as a true freshman, right? Early enrollee. I watched him. He rolled out, and he had like a crosser. And, I mean, he's rolling to his right. Crosser's working back across the field. It's a very dangerous throw. It's very risky. You don't want to do this. I'm telling dude, just how he flicks his wrist, man. To see it, seeing it, number one, the vision there, and then just the delivery, man, like the flick. It's just like there's plays like that. You're like, he's special. Not many people have the vision, awareness, the pocket presence, and then the ability to get the football there while they're rolling out across their body, across the field. That's something you see Pat Mahomes and some of the really good players do. Aaron Rodgers, right? So in my head, I'm like, if you want to really get to the point that we want to get and we expect to get, I feel like he's that guy. But I don't want to write Austin Mack off either, because I do feel like there's a certain level of, hey, if you do feel strongly about your defense, and you feel that, hey, we can get better with our running game, and we really need somebody that has a good understanding of what we're doing. They can operate this offense. They can be a little bit more secure potentially with the football. Not saying Keelan Russell just is some big turnover. He's young. You kind of expect a little bit of that. I think Austin Mack also is plenty talented to be that guy. And again, that sometimes that might be the better idea early. So I can see this thing going a number of ways, but I just can't help but notice when Coach DeBoer talks about both guys, you never feel like he's leaning one way or the other. In fact, it almost always feels like he finds a way to bring Austin Mack back in the conversation. What do you make out of that, Jackson? How do you see this whole thing, I guess, turning out?
Yeah, so I have a few points on this. Like, my first point would be Mack has been in the system for 4 years now. So I'm not saying that DeBoer owes him anything for following him to Alabama, but there is sort of that, relationship and loyalty there to where he will give Austin Mack the look if it's necessary to give him that look. Meaning, Absolutely. If Mack is that capable. The other point regarding Mack, I will also say, is we just saw Indiana win a national championship. Yes, Mendoza was a Heisman-winning quarterback, but if you look at his stats and the way he played the game at the position, it was not like a Joe Burrow type season, a Tua or a Kyler Murray, Bryce Young type season. It was very efficient. It was very, I'm going to do what I need to do within this offensive system in order to push the ball down the field and win the game.
Right.
That's something that I believe that Matt can do, and we've seen quarterbacks win national championships with their teams playing that way.
Yeah. You're 100. Oh, go ahead.
And when it comes to Keelan Russell, I do feel like it's more of that Jalen Hurts Tua situation where, not saying that these are these two quarterback competitions are the same, but when it comes to, the young guy who hasn't started yet, his ceiling is probably, if not definitely, much higher in terms of playmaking ability when a play breaks down or scrambling or trying to make something happen than Max. Yes, but like I mentioned before, playing within the system and what needs to be done, understanding the game, where you are situationally, and who you need to look to in order to get the ball down the field. Does he have that yet, or is it going to take maybe a game or two, maybe three, in order to get that feel for him in the game? So I do think I agree with you in the sense that I think we'll see both quarterbacks play against Eastern Carolina. First game of the season. I think Mack probably starts first. I think it'll be a half, if not quarter basis to where we'll see these two guys play. I do think Keelan Russell will end up being the starter for the substantial part of the season, but I do think Mack will get some playing time at the start.
Yeah, no, I think you make great points. And for me, there's so many different factors here, right? Where you mentioned Mendoza in Indiana. That's the beauty of having an offense that has a damn good running game, right? Because what they do is they're an RPO system, which I want to be clear. I keep hearing people say Keelan Russell the RPO. Are y'all referring to quarterback design runs or because RPO just means run pass option? Mendoza is not a dual threat. Even shout out to Pate, I love Pate, but I think he says this too, and I think people hear it and it creates confusion. And yes, there are RPOs that have quarterback runs implemented in them, but I think it's throwing me off because I'm like, both guys can run RPOs. And a matter of fact, we ran RPOs with Ty Simpson last year. I saw somebody say we never did that, and I was like, that's not true. I'm watching the tape. It just means run pass option. That just means the offensive line, they might block inside zone if you get the look pre-snap, you see the guys in the box, or you're reading your keys. You're going to keep it in there and just give it, and it's going to be a run play. If not, you're pulling it, and receivers are running routes, and it turns into a pass. That's all an RPO is. Either guy can really run those. I do feel like if you're talking about quarterback design runs, Keelan Russell is a better option. That said, Indiana had a running game where they rushed for 200-plus yards on the ground. I made a video saying the Alabama's running game will improve in 2026. Let me reiterate. I mean marginally. I mean, for going from 104 to 115, maybe 118, that's not 200 yards per game. I think it's going to get better, but marginally, not some crazy drastic improvement. That said, if you need a spark and you need somebody to create because you still don't have a very consistent running game.
Keelan is that option.
Keelan Russell is a little bit, but so like there's so many ways you can look at it where it's like, well, yeah, Austin I gotta be a little bit more secure, but man, I can totally see like what I like to do, Jackson, and I've talked about this. I try to like literally kind of preview and envision in my head. And one thing I know is like in everybody's mind, hey, we revamped the offense line, it's gonna be perfect. I don't see that. I actually see there's going to be breakdowns. People are only talking about the running game. Newsflash, you got to protect the quarterback too. How good are we going to be at that? And if we're not very good at that and we're facing a lot of pressure, one thing that helped us 2 years ago was what? Having Jalen Milroe in his running ability. Keelan Russell, like talking about escapability, I probably feel better about that. There's just so many like ways that this can go. And I think it really is going to probably be dependent on a number of other factors here. So it's hard to really predict anything right now. That's why I'm excited for training camp, because I'll be able to go up there and I'm sure media will have some open practices, but scrimmage and stuff, I'm going to be at all those. And I'm going to really pay attention because the spring was interesting because, you know, contrary to what you saw during the spring game, you know, I watched Austin Mack in the scrimmages and he had some damn good scrimmages. I mean, he looked good. So you can't write them all based off of A-Day. But there still was just something when you watch Keelan in there. It's like, man, offense is operating well. They're moving the ball well. And he has these plays here and there, but it's just like, this is against us. And I just know live bullets are different, right? Like when you get into the season, it's a little bit different. I know we have really good defense, so I still feel good about that. But I don't know. The quarterback battle this year is very interesting. I like the one you brought up. You know, like Tua was that, because I was a part of that, not in the quarterback room, but I was on the team. You don't want me throwing the football. We would be 0-12. But watching that, it was like, yeah, we knew Tua had all this talent, but then you had a dude like Jalen that was 26-2 as a starter. Tua had better arm talent, but in terms of like operating, Jalen was a better option. And you actually, even though Tua saved the day, what happened before he threw second and 26?
He took a 20-yard sack.
A terrible sack in a critical moment. Like to the point where he took that sack and I said, oh, God, you got it.
And if Smitty didn't burn the corner, the play probably didn't break down.
Caught them in cover two. Tua did a hell of a job. Now, listen, he looked like a vet the second play. Because he said this, hey, like we ran in 2-minute drill, man. When they're playing, you got cover two corner like that. I know you got split safety coverage. I'm going to look this safety off because we're going to be going vertical here. I don't need him over the top because he's a half player. I need to keep him in the middle, not in the middle because he's a split safety, but as close to the middle just to give me that window. And now I got the vert because I got this corner who's playing cover two. He's a flat player. I mean, that was perfect. But like we said, the first play, brother made a rookie mistake, and that could have been detrimental. So the point I'm making is those little things, like, yeah, Tua had the better arm talent, but imagine a whole season where you're trying to get over those growing pains and those, you know, hey, he's a freshman. He doesn't realize, bro, throw the ball away. You got to. Critical moment here. So there's little things you got to pay attention to. All right, we got to hit timeout. We come back. We got a quick little segment. Before we get to the top of the hour, we'll have Adam Lamparello all joining us. We'll keep talking SEC Media Days, breaking down some clips. Of course, we want to get you guys in the conversation. Anything that you guys want to talk about that you've heard from Media Day, let us know in the chat. Tag us in it on X at The Miller's Edge or give us a call right here on The Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Billy Lucci, TexAgs.com. It's not what you think. We're not going to be talking about Texas A&M. We're going to visit about the Texas Shorthorns. That's coming up with Billy Lucci. Did I say Shorthorns? My apologies. Xavier Brown, Ryan Coleman-Williams, and also Bray Hubbard stopped by to talk Alabama Crimson Tide football right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Longest running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays.
And high quality ingredients.
we want to say, that sounds great. We've been doing that since 1974.
Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa.
Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we transform driveways and parking lots with expert repairs, new paving, or resurfacing. Fast, durable, and family-owned quality that you can trust. Don't let small issues turn into big expenses. Call 205-393-9149 for your free estimate today. That's 205-393-9149. Asphalt Restoration, where smooth roads start. Roll Tide. Hey, it's Christian Miller, and I wanted to tell you about our friends over at Lamparello Law, Education and Advocacy. Founded by attorney and Professor Adam Lamparello, helping students at every level with mentoring, exam prep, applications, and career planning. Adam also represents students, faculty, and athletes in academic misconduct, First Amendment, NIL, and criminal defense cases. Known for real care and relentless advocacy. For guidance you can trust, call 201-317-5115 or visit Lamparello-law.com. That's Lamparello Law, Education, and Advocacy. Proud partner.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Keep the umbrella handy. Cloudy skies, muggy, 93. A light south breeze. Be on the watch for showers and storms this afternoon. They'll fade away tonight, cooling to 76. Cloudy, thunderstorms likely. Tomorrow could see some locally heavy downpours at 93. And sunshine on Saturday with a chance of afternoon storms, 94. Nearing 100 degrees as we move into next week. Richard Wedding of the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 86 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From Tuscaloosa to the world, download the free Tide 100.9 app for all the latest on Crimson Tide sports.
Fender, which quarterback? And welcome back into this Thursday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTVC. Quick little segment here, about a minute long, before we hit the top of the hour break. We'll be joined by Mr. Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law, Education and Advocacy. We're recapping SEC Media Days, and everything that we've heard and seen coming out so far is wrapping up today. There's been plenty from Lane Kiffin as well, Pete Golden yesterday. So we'll try to dive into all this, not just today, but tomorrow as well. We've got plenty of time to do it as we quickly approach training camp. But Jackson, one last thing before we hit this top of the hour break here. I just put it on the screen here. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Yep. This is from On 3. Now, this is from Jake from Crane and Cone. He rated his top 10 SEC defenses. He had Alabama at number 6. I believe his co-host had him a little bit higher. You're talking about some of the quote-unquote disrespect, or just, you know what I mean, just the lack of respect. Because I don't think he was trying to disrespect Bama. But, I mean, putting the defense at number 6, where we're talking about maybe having one of the best secondaries in the country, some question marks up front. Low, high, how do you view this ranking right here, Jackson? Alabama's defense, number 6th in the conference, not the country, but in the conference.
I do think it's a little low. I do agree with the top 3, maybe not necessarily in that order, but those 3 for sure. I would put us at 4. A&M did lose a decent amount on defense. I know they're returning their big edge rusher, and LSU, I mean, they're retaining their D coordinator and a few of those guys in the linebacking room and that great cornerback. But I, as a whole, I do think Alabama's unit, especially that secondary, is probably the best, if not one of the best in the country. And so for that, I would bump them a little higher. to maybe that 4 or 5 spot. Is the doubt warranted? Maybe. I think it is, but I wouldn't necessarily call it disrespect. It's okay to doubt, but I guess that's just where I stand.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I know we got to hit this timeout, but I would say Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, you definitely have respect for those defenses. Not saying Alabama couldn't find themselves in that mix, especially once we get the season going. But when you have the secondary, I think we have one of the best secondaries in the country. But Yonze Pierre, check the box there for you have a good pass rusher, but who are the other guys? I want to know. You can't do it all by yourself. How does that look? And then also linebacker play. I think we've got some good young linebackers. We got a guy from Caleb Woodson in the transfer portal, but we don't really know, right? We just don't really know. Now, if they can live up to what those guys the year prior have done, which, I talked about this yesterday, a lot of people go off of names, but I'll be honest with you, some of our bigger names on defense didn't always perform at the same level that they were at least talked about. And that's not to say it in a rude way. I'm just being honest, meaning who knows? Maybe these younger guys, even though they're young and they haven't played a whole bunch, they might bring something that we might have been lacking a little bit and end up at least delivering some type of output that you got out of the guys from the last couple of years. And if they do that paired up with the secondary that's even more experienced, and then you find a little bit more pass rush and some of these guys on the defensive line step up like we think they can, I think they could find themselves in probably that top 3 spot by the year's end. But I think preseason, I think 4 or 5 would probably be fair, kind of like you said. Wouldn't be mad if you had them in that 3 range, but who are you bumping down? Maybe Georgia, but I know Oklahoma's got a dang good defense. Texas has some dudes. And then Georgia, they had some younger guys last year who I expect to be some good players this year. And, of course, anytime you got Kirby Smart leading the charge, you feel pretty damn confident about that. So, yeah, I'm in agreement there with you on that one, Jackson. We got to hit this top hour break. When we come back, we got our official representation, Mr. Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law, joining the show. We'll continue recapping SEC Media Days, talking about all the talk coming out of Tampa right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Hey, it's Christian Miller, and I wanted to tell you about our friends over at Lamparello Law, Education and Advocacy. Founded by attorney and professor Adam Lamparello, helping students at every level with mentoring, exam prep, applications, and career planning. Adam also represents students, faculty, and athletes in academic misconduct, First Amendment, NIL, and criminal defense cases. Known for real care and relentless advocacy. For guidance you can trust, call 201-317-5115 or visit lamparello-law.com. That's Lamparello Law, Education and Advocacy. Proud partners. Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we transform driveways and parking lots with expert repairs, new paving, or resurfacing. Fast, durable, and family-owned quality that you can trust. Don't let small issues turn into big expenses. Call 205-393-9149 for your free estimate today. That's 205-393-9149. Asphalt Restoration, where smooth roads start. Roll Tide.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monsi Bolaños.
In baseball, the Dodgers have the best record at 65-38 after defeating the Phillies 9-5. The Orioles snapped the Red Sox 15-game winning streak after coming out on top in Game 2 of their doubleheader, 5-1. The Yankees and the Pirates also split their doubleheader. The Braves scored 6 runs in the 8th inning and held on 7-6 against the Padres, while the Rays defeated the Blue Jays 4-2. Tigers outscored the Cubs 5-1, and the White Sox had a 4-2 victory over the Rangers. In the WNBA, Caitlin Clark was on fire.
Clark, 5 for 5. Come on, Caitlin, shoot till your arm falls off.
You heard it all on Ion TV as Clark had 27 points and 11 assists, and the Fever crushed the Sun 123-88. Asia Wilson dropped 38 points, but the Aces lost to the Mystics 100-99.
It's time time for the Miller's Edge with 4-time SEC champion and 2-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, where we're now joined by Mr. Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. Make sure you guys check them out for all your representation needs, criminal defense matters, academic misconduct, NIL. Affordable prices is what is really, I guess, not the only thing that stands out, but of course, the great representation. But when you talk about representation, it can be pricey, but that's why you got Lamparello Law. They're going to do it for an affordable price. But not only do they do that, they've got a number of other services that they offer as well for high school, college, and graduate students. So make sure you guys check them out today, lamparello-law.com, and let Adam and his partners get you guys all squared away like they've got us here on the Miller's Edge right there at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy. Adam, welcome in. How's everything?
Thanks so much, and thanks for having me on the show. Great to see you.
Always, man. Always a pleasure. Now, we were chatting a little bit during the break here. Of course, you guys are watching the stream. You guys can pretty much see everything. Check us out on the stream at the Miller's Edge. Adam, you just mentioned something. I asked you about anything standing out to you during media day, and you said you believe. Now, we just talked about the quarterback battle, and then we kind of just said the opposite of what you're about to say. But you said you believe Coach DeBoer might have either intentionally or unintentionally leaked who he believes will be the starting quarterback, or who he has as his starting quarterback. Tell us what you heard and what you mean by that.
Yeah, I watched his press conference twice just to be sure. And it's clear to me that he knows who the starting quarterback will be. And he probably unintentionally said too much yesterday to tell us who that starting quarterback is. And it is clear in my mind to a near certainty that the starting quarterback will be Austin Mack. Really? And I say this because when they asked him about the quarterbacks, he emphasized almost exclusively the fact that, well, Austin's been in the program for 4 years. This is Keelan's second year, and there has been a great jump in the amount of knowledge that Keelan's gotten over the last 5 months. And when I heard that, what I heard from him is that Keelan may have a higher upside, but the person he's going to trust with the offense, at least to start this year, is going to be Austin Mack, and I would bet on that.
That's kind of what I was I wouldn't necessarily say I feel 100% that will be the case, but me and Jackson, who's producing for us today, we agreed that it does kind of feel that way, that, it's going to probably take a lot for Keelan Russell to do, for them to just completely say, hey, he just has won it. Not saying that's not going to happen. I think it could. If Keelan Russell goes through fall camp and it's just this guy each and every day, I mean, you're seeing him move the offense. He feels comfortable within the offense, getting everybody lined up, which he's already shown great improvement in that aspect. Reading defense, everything that comes with it. I mean, there's no denying. I mean, they're trying to win football games. They don't. I'm pretty sure they're tired of hearing the outside noise. But to your point, Adam, I was mentioning that as well, that it does seem like he always kind of corrals Austin Mack back into his answers, right? If it gets away from him a little bit, he and I don't know if it's just because he got a lot of love and respect for the young man. They've been together for several years, or if, like you're saying, that's just kind of how he's leaning right now. There's a little bit of a trust factor there. So, yeah. I mean, I guess, so I feel like a lot of people are kind of hearing that, because I think several others have made that remark. At least maybe that's how me and Jackson heard it. I don't know. You've heard it like that. So maybe that is the case. I know there was a couple other comments that he made and that others have made, Adam. And I want to get to some of those, especially with you on here now, and get get your thoughts. But first, I want to listen to this clip while we're talking about Austin Mack and this offense. They asked Coach Saban about fixing Alabama's offensive issues, and this is what he had to say.
No one better to talk Alabama than College Game Day's Nick Saban, who is joining us now. Hey, Coach, what do you need to see from Kalen DeBoer in season number 3 in Alabama just to become those national championship contenders?
Yeah, well, I think that defensively, they're probably a contending team. We got good front people. They got a good secondary. They got a good pass rusher in Gonzalez Pierre. So they've got the right pieces on defense. I think the big challenge for Kalen this year is going to be, can I fix all the issues we have on offense? You know, he just talked about the quarterbacks and making the selection at that position. But the O-line, which was a little bit of a problem last year in terms of being able to run the ball and protect the quarterback, needs fixing. As well as what kind of skill guys do we have besides Ryan Coleman Williams who can make plays and make big plays for us. So there's a lot of question marks there. I think they have a lot of capable players. I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how this team develops, because you have a lot of new players on the roster, and but I do think they have a chance to be a good team, and I think Kalen has done a really good job of developing, you know, this program of the last 2 years to be able to make another run this year.
Adam, I'll toss it to you. What do you make of Coach Saban's remarks there? He mentioned fixing some of those offensive issues. He sounds pretty confident in this defense and what they can be. What do you make of what Coach Saban had to say?
I agree with him 100%. I think he is spot on. I think our defense, particularly our secondary, can be one of the best in the SEC and keep us in every game. My concern is about the offense, and I'll say why. So let's start with the running backs. When I think of the running backs, I think of Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough. I can go down the line. I don't see any running backs of that caliber on this team. When I look at the offensive line, same thing. I don't see veterans coming back that I'm not so sure. They may perform at a high level, but I'm not so sure yet. Wide receiver, I'm looking at depth. We don't have Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs. I can go down the list of, you know, Devontae Smith. When we're looking at the talent that Alabama had in those rooms, it was extraordinary. Now, maybe it can't be the same, but I don't see depth at wide receiver. I don't see a standout person at running back, and I see questions on the offensive line. But my biggest concern of everything is the quarterbacks, because they really haven't played in any major SEC games, maybe Austin against Indiana, but Keelan Russell hasn't gotten hit since high school. Austin Mack is new, and I don't think that they're a Bryce Young or a Tua type of level of talent. So I'm very concerned about the offense, and Coach Saban, not surprisingly, in my opinion, was 100% right.
Well, he actually, I guess, would be agreeing kind of with what you're saying earlier in regards to the quarterback, because I know Coach Saban had mentioned Austin Mack, and he said, this is what he was quoted saying, I do think Austin Mack is probably a little bit ahead in terms of his maturity as a player at the position, but I think Keelan Russell is a guy who has tremendous ability and is going to be an outstanding player in this league. I can't tell you whether he's ready to play now, but I think he's got the ability to be an outstanding player in this league. So I think a lot of people are under that same kind of understanding that Austin Mack still might be a little ahead at this point in time. How long will that last? I don't know, but we'll have to see. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, this kind of reminds me, it might not be the same. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the situation when Jalen Hurts was the starting quarterback and Tua was behind him. Yep. There was this feeling that Tua had such a higher upside and could be a spectacular quarterback, which he was. I think there's the same feeling with Keelan. My only point is I'm not sure if it's going to be this year. It might be just a bit too soon, but you could see, like you saw with Jalen and Tua, you know, him coming in the SEC championship game or in the national championship, and of course the 2nd and 26. So it's a fluid situation, but I think for safety and trust purposes, Mac will start.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because me and Jackson were talking about that earlier. And one thing I wanted to note was, yeah, you know, without a doubt, Tua was the more talented player in terms of, you know, the arm talent. But the first thing, or one of the major things you saw when he did come in, was that he made a rookie mistake and he took a critical sack that put us in this position where we probably if you go off analytics, we should have lost that game at that point. 2nd and 26. I mean, you were so far behind the chains. Now that was that was a very bad mistake. And that just goes to show you why, even though a guy might be more talented, you have to take these things into consideration that an older player is probably going to say, hey, I need to throw this football away. And the last thing I want to do is put us in 2nd and 26, even though it's going to end up making for like the greatest play in school history after that.
I screamed at the top of my lungs in my house here in New Jersey when he got sacked.
I don't blame you.
What were you thinking?
Imagine how we were on the sideline thinking we just did all this to put ourselves back in position. And this dude, the first operative, I can't remember exactly what play it was for him in the game. I think he was already in there a couple of snaps, but still, you're just like, come on, man.
Oh.
Like, that was the last thing we needed, but sure enough, it ended up being okay. In terms of the rest of the offense, there's this quote from Kalen DeBoer, he's speaking to 97.7 ESPN. And in terms of offensive line play, because we know how important that is, this is what he had to say in regards to where they're at now. We aren't there yet. We've got to have a great fall camp of really execution-wise, and I think that's what it comes down to is execution, executing your individual footwork, confidence in the guy next to you. You may know what you're doing, and you may do your job well, but if you're just a little bit unsure of what the next guy's footwork is, we had a lot of new faces that were in the lineup. I think a lot of people, sometimes there were some times when we moved people around to try to find the best group, but also there were things just injury-wise and others that kept guys from being able to be on the football field, or the reason why we had to put somebody else in those spots. That lack of continuity, you try to make the positives out of it, but in the end, there's got to be some type of gelling of the guys up front to where one guy makes a call and just gets relayed all the way down from one guy to another, from the center on out, just to all the way to the tackles, to the tight ends and running backs, all on the same page, and they can envision what the play is going to look like and how the blocking scheme is going to match the front before it even happens. I read all of that to say that is why I'm still concerned to an extent, because we're replacing all these guys, and he just talked about it. The execution, the communication. Yeah, we need to be more physical at the point of attack and get more movement. But I would argue you can clearly see there's so much more than just that. It's not like, hey, we just need to be tougher and go push more and then everything's going to work. And I broke it down on my run game breakdown. To me, and I talked about this yesterday, I don't understand how at the University of Alabama, I mean, we're supposed to be one of the premier programs in college football, and we can't even figure out fundamentals, execution of what we're supposed to be doing, being on the same page as the offensive line. And then to make it worse, it's like we have an offensive-minded coach, and our offensive coordinator was a former offensive line guy.
Yeah.
So, no, it's like, I get it. Coach Cap might not have been the best fit. I get it. Their coach that they had at Washington went on to the National Football League, and then they had to make the hire pretty quickly. But to me, I'm just like, there's no excuse for that, and that it went on so long. And I'm optimistic, Adam, that hiring Coach Clem and hiring Coach Owens is going to help with that mentality, being more physical, helping with the coaching and really installing and instilling kind of how we want to do things and operate, and from an execution standpoint, from a physicality standpoint. However, when you hear that, and that's coming from the head man, it's just a fresh reminder that, man, there's a long ways to go. And it's not like, you know what I mean? These were just, you got a couple homegrown guys, then you go get other transfer portal guys. There's still a lot of newness. How confident are you and should we be that problem is going to be fixed just because we went and hired a new guy and got some new young players from the portal?
I am not confident, and that quote says it all. That quote says it all because it's talking about basic things that offensive linemen need to be good at.
Right.
Which shows me that the level they're at right now isn't anywhere near it they need to be. You know, offensive line is such a complicated position. It's almost like synchronized swimming, where every swimmer is doing the exact same thing. Like, you got to know what everybody else on the line is going to do. You have to be on the same page. Your technique has to be elite. You have to all be in sync, is my point. And
know what the other guys are doing too, because with the fronts, like he mentioned, I mean, whether they're an odd front, even front, remember nowadays, you see so much movement too. They're stemming. So you're 100% right, Adam. It is not an easy position. So I don't want to make it seem like it's easy because you're right. It is very difficult. I put those expectations on them. So I'm like, man, like that's y'all's job. You know, just like kicking is not easy. Well, I know it's not easy, but you kick all day in practice.
There is no player on this team, in my view, and this may seem extreme, that could be a starter for the teams that you were on. And I still feel like, personally, I'm in a period of adjustment where those teams from 14 to 18 were so unbelievable that everybody was a star. And what we're looking at now is the people that we're calling the stars, I think at best would have been maybe rotation players on those teams. And that is a problem, especially when you look at the more intricate details, which is how is the offensive line going to mesh? How are they going to deal with the defensive schemes and blitzes and stunts and all that stuff? It's like incredibly hard to learn. It takes years.
Yeah.
My view, maybe I'm not that smart.
No. It takes a lot of time, and that's why Coach Clem's got a tall task ahead of him. But I'm confident that, again, the moves that we made were good moves, but I'm not necessarily confident that it's just all going to come together as quickly as people are hoping. I think with a year under their belt, I think maybe like next year, right, you can say, hey, this group is going to be a lot better. But for me, it's like they just got here in the spring, you know, and then people that maybe hopefully they remember. I mean, A-Day, I remember everybody was complaining, oh, the offensive line. I was like, yeah, this is what I was telling you guys before the spring started. Like, it's not just some quick fix. Like, it's too early to judge, but still you can see just because you made those changes doesn't mean I think people just think kind of like me and Jackson were talking about expectations. Hey, we hired Lane Kiffin and brought a bunch of good guys in there. We're going to win a national championship. Yeah. And it's like, I wish it was that easy. This is not AI. This is not some math equation on your phone. This is football where every little detail matters. You're talking about training and working out and practice and film and gelling and chemistry and scheme. And then your opponents, I mean, each and every, is so much that goes into it. But we got to hit a timeout. We come back, we'll keep talking about some of the main talking points from SEC Media Days and this Alabama football team who many would say is flying under the radar, which we just pointed out some of the flaws that need to be better. But we'll talk about, could some of this doubt be beneficial for this football team in terms of maybe give them some motivation? We'll talk about that and more coming up on this Thursday edition of Miller's Edge, Title 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
It's quick, it's easy, and it's free. Go to mylocalcustomers.com today.
That's mylocalcustomers.com. Mylocalcustomers.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Keep the umbrella handy. Cloudy skies, muggy, 93. A light south breeze. Be on the watch for showers and storms this afternoon. They'll fade away tonight, cooling to 76. Cloudy, thunderstorms likely. Tomorrow could see some locally heavy downpours at 93. And sunshine on Saturday with a chance of afternoon storms, 94. Nearing 100 degrees as we move into next week. Richard Wedding of the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 85 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
24/7, 365. We've got all your coverage of the Crimson Tide on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
back into this Thursday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Big thank you for the super chat from Smitty over on our YouTube channel. Again, check us out on our streams at the Miller's Edge. We're joined by Mr. Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law Education Advocacy. Check out the website now for all your representation needs, lamparello-law.com. Smitty says, Mac versus Russell reminds me of Kelly Bryant versus Trevor Lawrence. Question is, Mac has been in the system 4 years, so why is it a close race? Man, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, you're saying the guy that's been there so long should be ahead naturally, one would assume, but I guess your answer is kind of probably why Trevor Lawrence was so close, and it's because he's probably a little bit of a better talent, right? He has more upside and potential. Not that, which I will say this. I think Austin Mack is a lot better than Kelly Bryant, personally. Kelly Bryant was a decent quarterback, no disrespect to him, but I think Austin Mack probably has a little bit more upside than a Kelly Bryant, personally. So, but I get the point. You know, there's a reason the young guy is on the heels of a player who also is talented, but has been in the system a while. That speaks volumes to the talent that the young player is, in my opinion. Thank you so much, Smitty, for that super chat. Great point that you have there. Adam, I was going to ask you about that. We briefly played that clip during the break. It's like 3 minutes long. I don't want to skip through it too much. The question is about the SEC breaking away. Mm-hmm. There's been talks about that. Came up with Kirby Smart. He kind of alluded to the fact that he's cool with it. You give us the green light. It's kind of like the COVID year. You know, you play all SEC schedule. We got plenty of good teams. We got the deepest conference. I think we'll be just fine. The hurdle would be probably some lawsuits. I think that's what Paul Feinbaum was getting at, that it's just like, hey, yeah, it sounds good, but good luck making that happen. You're an attorney, Adam. What do you believe would be those hurdles for the SEC or any conference that's trying to do that? Like, how would that process look, and how realistic is it that actually could happen?
I hope the SEC has a really, really good lawyer, because a really, really good lawyer is going to tell them, do not break away. If they do that, first they're going to arguably be violating the House settlement agreement that was reached. But more importantly, Sherman Antitrust Act. They are going to face a major antitrust lawsuit if they break away and start setting revenue caps or NIL limitations. It'll be an absolute nightmare. The first thing that'll happen is that an injunction will be issued against the SEC from breaking away. The second thing that'll happen is they'll get hit with a major antitrust lawsuit that will go through the courts for years. I'm talking 5, 6, potentially 7 years. It's not worth the cost. There has to be a better solution, because if they do that, they will face serious legal vulnerability and ultimately probably not be able to do what they envision.
Could it be something where, I don't know, like, could they attempt, like, or start that process, and then you're saying, like, with the lawsuits, they'll reel them back in, or would they be blocked from getting to that point?
They'd be blocked immediately. The lawyers would go to court for a temporary restraining order in federal court. They'd get it probably within 24 to 48 hours, and that would stop everything. And then the litigation would proceed. But there's major, major antitrust issues. They also probably have agreements with the NCAA they would have to breach. That would be problematic. I do not see the SEC being able to survive the legal landmines necessary to break away. They would lose. It would be costly. It would be lengthy. There's got to be a better solution that they can come up with, and I hope they do that.
I do too, because there's a lot of solutions that we're desperately searching for, and unfortunately, they've kind of, I don't know, gotten a little muddy over the last, few weeks.
What is the SEC's primary complaint?
If I remember correctly, you're talking about, like, in terms of what Congress is pushing for right now, like, what's their complaint with that? I think it had to do with them having a little bit too much control in terms of, like, revenue and things like that, kind of keeping them from doing some of the things that they feel like they should or deserve to do. If I'm wording that well enough, that's a little bit broad, but
and the pooling of the media rights deal, that was one of the big ones.
Yeah, so the pooling of the media rights deal, which we know, affects money in the people's pockets. So I just always sum it up to money. But thank you, Jackson, for clarifying the media rights.
So if the issue is revenue sharing, then my question would be, is the SEC, why is the SEC bound by these provisions? Did the SEC sign or agree to anything that binds them to this? If not, they can make an argument that it's not applicable to them. Why would the SEC, like, my point is, why do they have revenue sharing objections if they weren't otherwise bound by them? What makes them bound by this?
That's a great point. Jackson, maybe you have a...
I think it has to do with their current contract with ESPN, and just in terms of the media rights deal, which is what their main gripe with the bill is, where they would take all the conferences' teams and pool them together, and then all the networks would bid on which games to host. So you'd have SEC games on Fox, ESPN, CBS, rather than just on ESPN and ABC, and vice versa with the other conferences as well. And so right now the SEC only has a signed contract with ESPN, and that's where they get that rev share agreement from. And so they feel like if they pulled it together, they would get less money than what they currently get just through ESPN.
Right. That's what I thought would be their argument. But if that is in fact the case, I don't see how they have any legal basis to sue. What expectation did they have that what they had now was going to remain in place permanently? So I'd have to look at the contractual language, but it seems to me that their argument is basically we don't like it because we're not making as much money, and we've got to find a legal theory to support it. But I'm not so sure I see one, and I also see their vulnerability to antitrust claims as very significant. So I understand that it's a problem, but I think it's a problem without a legal remedy at this point.
Yeah, and I guess you just kind of wait and see what what Congress does with this whole bill, right, that they're trying to pass, because now we've seen, at first it was, I don't know, you had Alabama, Auburn coming together and with a joint statement. Everybody was like, whoa. And then you see LSU and other schools come out and basically, I guess, share their, dissatisfaction with certain aspects of it. So we'll see if it ends up being revised, whatever they end up deciding.
I actually, I have had serious thoughts here in New Jersey about running for Congress in 2028. And if I do that, and if I actually won, you know what I would do? I would go right back onto the floor of the House, and I would push my proposal for a best 2 out of 3 and my revenue share proposal. And it would be about time someone proposes a real solution that has real answers.
There we go.
Where we need to go. Enough is enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, nowadays you see it. I mean, Congress is kind of the step to get things done, right? So maybe we need to prop you up, Adam, and get you get your foot in the door. Then when we start getting you to start passing some stuff, and then I don't know. I guess we're further in the whole swamp stuff that I don't know. I can't keep up with politics like that. I do want to ask you, since we're talking about Paul Feinbaum, him and Stephen A. Smith, Adam, Jackson as well. You can chime in on this in a second. They've been kind of going above and beyond with some of their takes. This was one from Paul Feinbaum reacting to Kalen DeBoer and so far kind of what he's done since taking over for Nick Saban.
Kalen DeBoer has just made a mess out of a great situation. He's lost 8 games in 2 years, as Stephen A. said. He lost to Florida State last year, which was total trash, and should have fired his coach. He lost to Oklahoma at home. Yeah, he won a playoff game. He also was down 17. Oklahoma had a 17-0 lead and completely choked the game away, as Stephen and I both remember because we were talking during the game. But let's not get carried away with DeBoer. He's an excellent coach, but is he the right coach at Alabama? And Stephen A., I think you know the answer.
So that was what Paul said, and he definitely he came in hot there. Kind of a little bit of a backhanded compliment. He started to say he's a great coach, but then he kind of mentioned something that now that's been a discussion, right? Is he the best fit? I think that's a fair question that people want to ask that, right? His style is totally different than the style that came before with Coach Saban. Of course, we saw the success that brought and generated. It's natural that people are going to question that. I think that's okay, but kind of making it seem as if he's made a mess out of kind of what was given. To me, he's going way too far on that, right? Because there's a number of guys that enter the transfer portal. I want to be clear because I think I'm going to ride the fence here, but I think it's true. There are some people that made it seem as if he had nothing to work with when he got to Alabama because they lost players. Let's get it clear. He still had better players to work with than he probably had pretty much anywhere he'd been. I mean, I know Washington ended up having a good team, but if you're just talking about the quality of recruits going off of that, it was the best team he's worked with. However, was it this big elite Alabama roster that he probably would have been working with if it was 10 years prior? Absolutely not. My dad used to talk about that all the time. People used to get mad, but it just was the fact, right? If you turn on the tape, just like you made the comment earlier, we have good players, but if you're comparing it to like some of those eras where we were stacking 5 stars on 5 stars and true quality 5 stars, a lot of these guys probably wouldn't really see the field if we're just being completely honest here. Some, but not many. That said, do you feel, Adam, that people are way too down on Alabama right now? Because, I mean, you heard the man. He basically said, he's made a mess out of it. I completely disagree with that. I think he's done a good job filling in. There's been hiccups. There's things that need to be better, but he's done a good job. They made it to the SEC championship game in year number 2 and made the playoffs and won an away game. Like, those are definitely good things. We also will talk about and acknowledge the things that aren't great, that need to be better. But you got to give them credit where it's due. What's your reaction to that clip? And do you feel like the national media is going way above and beyond right now when it comes to Alabama?
I think that Feinbaum was very disrespectful to Kalen DeBoer, and I think he was wrong. Okay, Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. Now, there's questions about his fit. That's a separate issue. But you have to consider, he comes to Alabama replacing the greatest coach of all time. Okay, the expectations are through the roof. Does he have his own players that he recruited? No. He's coming onto a team of players that he didn't recruit, that he doesn't know. And what did he do in his first year? He beat Georgia, and we were really competitive. We crushed LSU. Yeah, we had some losses, but that's part of college football these days. He comes back in his second year, and he does an even better coaching job. He did an outstanding coaching job this year. Now, I understand the Oklahoma game, the physicality issues with Georgia and Indiana. But, we were nowhere near the talent level of the teams you had. And you managed to get us to a playoff and come back from a 17-0 deficit. We ran into an Indiana team that was just a better team, both execution-wise and physicality-wise. But that doesn't erase the fact that DeBoer has done as good a job as any coach would have done under the circumstances. And while this year may not be his year, watch out for 2027.
I like the answer. I'm with you 100%. Jackson, I know we got to hit this timeout. You want to respond to that?
No, yeah, I'm in complete agreement with Adam. And I'll also say, who would do a better job? There's no guarantee that if you hired somebody else or got rid of DeBoer and brought somebody else in, that he'd keep you on a trajectory that is at least still competing for national titles and SEC titles. Because if you're still going to try and chase the ghost of Nick Saban, you're never going to be satisfied with whoever your head coach is.
No. And you're fighting a losing battle at that point. Because with this day and age and this landscape in college football, I don't see anybody recreating kind of what we saw with Coach Saban. I mean, but who knows, though? I mean, because Bear Bryant was doing it kind of, and it's like, I'm sure people, this is way before my time, people probably thought, we'll never see another Bear Bryant era. Then here comes a guy named Nick Saban, and he did it. So maybe never say never, I guess.
Christian, I would say this, though. If Alabama wants to really be physical this year and beat down opponents, you should hire me for 1 week in fall camp as the physicality coach. I'll implement my story. I'll toughen them all up, and then I'll leave. And, why not give it a shot?
Should we make that pitch for you, Adam? I mean, listen.
Yeah, I would tell Austin Russell I would tell Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, first day of camp, this is what you're going to do. It's 9 a.m. Run as far as you can for the next 24 hours and stop. And then call us and tell us how far you got. Hopefully it's to Birmingham. Then run all the way back, and then we'll start determining who might be the number 1 quarterback. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but I think we need to get back to old school Bear Bryant-like football. Beat the crap out of your opponent and do the fundamentals right. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just too old, but that's the football, I think, that wins championships.
No, I agree. I mean, I think you look at the last few champions, I think they all had in common a very physical football team, good trench play. Of course, they had great weapons and skilled players, but I think really what separates and stands out is that foundation in which they are built, which typically consists of physical dudes up front. Adam, before we let you run, anything that we didn't touch on that you want to hit on, or any last words you want to give our listeners?
No, it's just always a pleasure to be on the show. So excited for the season. And if anybody out there needs legal help that you can afford, come visit our website. Check out our YouTube channel, Lamprell Law, for free legal advice. But roll tide, and let's hope for a season that surpasses our expectations.
Listen, we can all say amen to that. And he's right about checking those YouTube videos. They're very interesting, Adam. It's great legal advice, but also I feel like it kind of pertains to a number of other things, like just
psychology,
psychology, reading other individuals, which I get all falls in line with the legal world. But I found myself, I was kind of binge watching a little bit, like, dang, I feel like I'm listening to like some good old, not TED Talks, but like some good encouragement stuff. I'm like, it's some good stuff. So check out the YouTube channel as well. Lamprell Law, free, legal, and just really good life advice, I feel like, at Lamprell Law on YouTube. And then lamprell-law.com. Schedule yourself a free consultation. You guys hear Adam, man, he's awesome. He's relentless. Listen, he's helped me out with a number of things. My dad. Listen, if you guys need legal representation, affordable prices, and just somebody that's going to fight for you, Adam is the man. I vouch for that. lamprell-law.com.
I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much, and have a great
thank you
day, as always.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. You too. We appreciate you, Adam. That is Adam Lamprell, our official representation here on the show. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we keep rolling on this Thursday edition. Me and Jackson hanging out right here, Tide 100 point.
Your time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch. We say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Did you miss any episode on Tide 100.9? Don't worry. All of our shows can be found on Spotify and Apple Music and on demand on the Tide 100.9 app.
On this Thursday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's kind of go through some more of these bookmarks real quick. We got a short little segment here, but okay, Jake tagged us in something. It looks like it was Coach Saban speaking. It's 11 minutes long though, so I won't play that. But it looks like there's a quote here from the video. And here, what I'll do is we'll be fancy. I'll play the video in the background. Let me mute that, though. And then I'll just read the quote, except I can't read the quote with it on full screen. All right. The quote says, Nick Saban says on Get Up, based on a little bit. Nick Saban says to Get Up, that's the name of the show, on Alabama. I know their coaching staff is working really, really hard. Kalen didn't take the job not to win. He wants to win. He knew the challenges of taking over a very successful program and the expectations that would come with it. I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for him putting himself in that position and meeting that challenge head on. I think he's done a good job at this point. They made the playoffs last year. What I'll do is we'll definitely circle back to that maybe tomorrow, because I'm sure he talked about a number of things on that interview. But one question, Jackson, I do have after reading that is I do remember, I don't remember who, because again, everybody's saying everything at this point in time. We don't know. We just say it. We just repeat it. Somebody made the point, and a very crazy point, that at this point, the Alabama job is one of the most undesirable or like worst coaching jobs in the country, given that you're following up Coach Saban. And then I think there's talking about maybe with NIL, or I forgot all that came from it. I just remember reading, and I was like, are they like, come on, man. Did you see or hear that? I forgot who might have said that, but it basically was saying that the Alabama job is in fact one. Did you see that? Sorry, Jackson, might have cut out for a second.
Oh, no, you're good. I did see the quote. I saw it, and I just scrolled right past it because I was like, this is just, I don't even want to give credit to whoever said that, because there's a difference between being undesirable and being the toughest. Does the toughest make it some more undesirable? Yes, because that's going to steer away the people that you do not want to be the coach. So that's the distinction that I make. And Kalen DeBoer stepping up to take that, in my opinion, makes him a little more desirable and the right fit, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and if anything, I was going to say, I mean, now that he's taken the job after the guy, they always say to follow the man, you would rather be the man that follows the man that followed the man, or whatever the hell it is. Now that he's taken the job, I think it's probably a little bit different. But yeah, taking that, and it ties into something we can talk about here after we come back. But they were talking about Kalen DeBoer and what will define his legacy here at Alabama. And does he feel like a national championship will be the defining factor? And I'm curious what you guys think about that. So let's do this because we got to catch back up. Let's hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll respond to that because that was a very interesting question. I thought Coach DeBoer gave a solid answer, and I know a lot of people had their own opinions on it. So I would love to get y'all's thoughts on that. Do you feel like Coach DeBoer's legacy here at Alabama ultimately will be decided on whether or not he can secure a national championship while being head coach of Alabama and Tuscaloosa? We'll talk about that on the other side right here on this Thursday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Billy Lucci, TexAgs.com. It's not what you think. We're not going to be talking about Texas A&M. We're going to visit about the Texas Shorthorns. That's coming up with Billy Lucci. Did I say Shorthorns? My apologies. Xavier Brown, Ryan Coleman-Williams, and also Bray Hubbard stopped by to talk Alabama Crimson Tide football right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from...
For new auto insurance business, rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Your front row seat to all things Alabama. Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. The home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
I don't... And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We've been recapping SEC Media Days, and don't worry, we'll be doing it again tomorrow on a Free-for-All Friday. Sounds like Jackson's going to be with us again, which we're excited about. Been a fun one. I can't believe we've already flown by. It's our final segment. Kind of crazy how fast that's gone by. But I asked the question before we hit our timeout, and I was saying, responding to the point that they asked Coach DeBoer, does he feel like his legacy will be determined on it, whether or not he wins a national championship, which pretty sure that he said, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be the case. I asked you guys, do you agree with that? Do you think that's right? And matter of fact, here's a clip. It's 27 seconds. We'll play this. This is courtesy of the next round right here.
Kalen, do you think your time at Alabama will be defined by whether you win a national championship?
I certainly know that that's an important part of what's happened in the program. So I wouldn't doubt that if that's the case. I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on just helping our program be the best and trying to bring out the best and raise the level of everyone around me, from coaching staff to our players, trying to maximize what we're capable of every single day.
So I think he's understanding, Jackson, that people definitely are probably going to hang that there, and probably rightfully so, given the expectations and the standard that's been set. It is what it is. But I want to add this, though. I don't think that's going to be the only thing that defines his legacy, and here's why. He is the man that followed Coach Saban. That in itself is going to kind of cement him in a little bit different of a spot than just anybody that just coached here at any point in time, whether you won or not. Not saying that's some big thing to celebrate, but he's always going to be known as the coach that followed Coach Saban. Whether you think that's cool, whether you think it's stupid, that's something that's worth mentioning. Like, that's going to forever be, in the history. The guy that followed Coach Saban was Kalen DeBoer. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's to be determined. But ultimately, yeah, I think people will probably define his level of success on if he wins the national championship. And I'll be honest with you, Jackson, even if he wins one, if he's here 8 years and wins one, that's something I think that people should respect, because not only did he come and follow Coach Saban, but he found a way, which some people might say, oh, well, he took over for Coach Saban. It should have been easy to win one. Wasn't really the case. It's not really how people would sum that up. And I think him just making it to the SEC championship in year 2 is something that he should get more credit for. And we clearly see he doesn't get credit for that, unfortunately, given the performance that we saw. So, tough critics out there, man, especially when it comes to Alabama's fan base. I'm sure you're under the belief that the national championship is probably going to define his legacy.
To a degree, I actually agree a lot with what you said. Obviously, the Alabama fans will hold that as the standard, but I will also say there's another coach that only won one national title, and that's Coach Stallings, and he's still highly regarded, even though he only won one. Point. So I also think, like you said, following Nick Saban will be probably that defining chapter of Alabama's history, and for him. But also, do I think that the national championship will be held there as well? Yes, just based on the expectations from fans. But also, I agree. I like his answer in stating that he's not entirely focused on that, as he shouldn't be. From my opinion, if you're focused on something that much, it's going to be that much harder to attain it.
Yeah,
it's like that push-pull, the law,
process,
whatever. Yeah. It's
focus on the process and the results will come.
Exactly.
Yeah, that should be his focus. I agree 100%. That should be his focus. Focus on the process. Don't worry about the outside noise. Just take it one day at a time, one practice at a time, one game at a time, and just keep doing with it. I mean, again, outside of, I know, and there's a logic for everything. Recruiting class, I get it. They're strategically taking less guys. Now, I still think we missed on guys, given that we weren't willing to invest what others were. We'll see kind of how that strategy plays out. I get it logistically, but I also just know you want to make sure you try to keep up with all these other good teams as well. Hopefully it ends up working out. But at the end of the day, they were recruited 2 good classes the first 2 years. They're doing a nice job retaining guys. They're building a nice little culture in their own image, right? A little bit different than what we're used to, but I think they're on the right track. Before we get out of here, Jax, I just want to tell you thank you. I know you're filling in and did a hell of a job, man. Really good stuff. Great conversations, killing it behind the glass. Not surprised. I know you're a vet. You're a vet in this business, so we appreciate you doing that. And with that said, we got to get out of here and wrap things up. You got Wyatt coming up next, and we will be back again tomorrow for a free-for-all Friday edition. We'll continue talking about SEC Media Days recap, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit more about Lane and some of his comments from today on tomorrow's show. And we'll lead you guys into the weekend with some good old sports talk like we try to do each and every week right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTVC.